Welcome to the Beats from the True Wellness Center. I'm your host, Kelly Kennedy. And the Beats is truly from my heart to yours to help you empower and inspire you to learn how the body actually does work. I am bringing you my friends, my colleagues, the most incredible minds from around the world that I have been able to learn from, and I want to share them all with you. So that's what the Beats is really about, is teaching people what I've been able to learn about how the body works and trying to give that to you in a very simple and practical way to give you things to change your life, because you got this. This is all about you and having the ability to heal your own body from within. And that's really my message, is from my heart to yours. Welcome to the Beats. Welcome to learning how your body works, and welcome to opening your heart. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time and your attention as we focus in on this week's episode of The Beats. Welcome back to The Beats with Kelly Kennedy from the True Wellness Center. And I have a very exciting podcast to share with you all today, because I met this gentleman, TK, about 2.5 years ago. And we've been trying to arrange this podcast for about 6 months. Although it should have been 2.5 years ago, but you know, timing is everything. I fell in love with his ointment, cream, lotion, magic stuff in a tube. And I remember literally opening up, getting out a Q-tip to wipe it off. Why I did not call and order more. Timing is everything. Who knows why? Who cares? But I ran into him in October, and like literally, it was like I saw him from across the room. I was like, "Oh, Christine, that's TK. Do you know TK? Oh my God, his cream. We need to get his cream." And I've been addicted to his cream ever since. I have one in my bag at all times, in my purse bag. I have one in my office. I have one next to my bed. So I went from not having TK's cream to having TK's cream everywhere. Welcome, TK. I can't wait for everybody to understand what I'm talking about. Welcome.
Thank you. My gratitude and pleasure to be here.
And TK Huynh, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got here. I don't honestly know the story. I just know you're a lovely, amazing human, and you light up a room when you're there. And if you aren't watching this, please go look at this man's smile, because you can feel it from his heart to his top of his head. He just glows. He's amazing.
I like to send out the love, the laughter, and the joy. I was trained as a pharmacist. Traditionally, I have a doctorate in pharmacy, and then I worked for a very large corporate chain pharmacy. I worked my way into being a supervisor of 47 pharmacy in the local area. One day it hit me, and one of my epiphany in my journey in life here, it hit me like, why am I working so hard? And they see every customer and every employee as a number, not as a person. And that's not who I am. So I decided that I'm going to step down, because this job is not giving me joy anymore. And so I stepped down, and ultimately I got fired, because that's the course of going from corporate to not wanting to take care of their stores or being in management for them, and all that training go to waste. So that's kind of like where I went. So I opened up my own independent pharmacy, looking for that joy to help that individual person again. I did that, and I figured, how do I compete with a large chain pharmacy? So I started learning about compounding, and that's where we got into compounding, bioidentical hormones. I got a fellowship with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine in endocrinology, metabolic medicine, and functional regenerative medicine. And I went on this whole journey of being in the pharmacy, seeing all the pain patients that comes through, and we try to do compounding for them, all the bioidentical hormone patient that comes through, and we do bioidentical compounding for them. But one thing that really stood out for me at that point in time was like, we have a big opiate crisis. All these people who's coming through for pain management, it's just this revolving door, the cycle. We keep giving them the prescription, feel their narcotics, and does it really help them? When I saw that it doesn't really help them, I wanted to figure out what is it that I can do to help them. So I went on this journey of like looking and searching, what is there beside opiates, beside supplements, beside functional medicine? What else can we do to help these patients who are in pain? So one day at the Institute of Functional Medicine, when they had their first energy module, Dr. Catherine Wilner was talking about bioenergetic medicine, the Nest health system, and how she uses that bioenergetic medicine in her clinic to help her pain patient. And it dawns on me that this could be the solution that I am looking for. So I started to study about bioenergetic medicine, study about the Nest health system, and then I met Harry Massey. At that point, I went on this whole journey of looking into energetic medicine, meditations, frequency, light therapy, technology that can help advance people in terms of how we treat them for pain. So I started studying about Bruce Lipton, Gabor Mate's work, Candace Owens, not Candace Owen, but Lynn Perkin, Candace Perkin, Lynn McTaggart, and Joe Dispenza. And his book about You Are the Placebo really inspires me. And so I started to get deeper into these things. And then the point that really hit me and changed the course of me seriously looking into this was my wife, who is also a pharmacist, worked at Target and opened up the store one day, calls me and said, honey, I don't feel good. I might need you to come and pick me up, and so I can go home. 15 minutes later, her technician calls me and said, hey, TK, we have the ambulance here. Your wife, Aline, is incoherent. She can't understand what's going on, and she's just laying on the floor. So we call the ambulance. They're here to pick her up, to take her to the emergency room. And at this point, I thought to myself, okay, I have to think clearly. With my background working in emergency medicine when I was a student in pharmacy school, I told them to take her to Kaiser, where our insurance is, and I'll meet them in the emergency room. So I got there. And when I walked in through the back door of the emergency room, I went into her room. I look into the eye of the attending physician, and I can see that he was shocked. He was doing the sensory test on her feet and her finger, asking her, can you feel this? Can you squeeze my finger? And the palm of her hand was open, and she's telling the doctor that I am squeezing your finger. So we looked at each other with puzzle and shock. It's not a good situation. So she said that I am doing everything you're telling me, but we can see that she isn't. The shock is that I felt like she was having a stroke. And so the doctor, I gave them their time. After 2-3 hours of working on her, doing scans, blood work, everything came back normal. The scan came back normal. They don't know what's going on, but she was paralyzed from the neck down.
My God,
and
freaking out, honestly. Like
I was standing there really like terrified.
No days before anything, just I don't feel good, passed out, incoherent, pushing on you with a finger, but no other responses and no other nothing.
No, she at this point, she was 36-years old, healthy, no previous sickness history, no fever, no drugs. She doesn't smoke. And so we're like, what the hell is going on, right?
Yeah.
So the doctor came back with the neurologist that came in and said, hey, we don't know what's going on. We need you to sign this form so that way we can wait for a intensive care unit to bring her up there and do the spinal tap for her. That's really the last thing that we can do to find out what's going on. But right now we don't know anything. And so I thought about it, and I remember what Joe Dispenza did when he got hurt, and about all the healing possibility from like Lynn McTaggart in the fields and everything. And so I call my niece to bring me my computer and the My Health from the Nest system. And I asked for the emergency room doctor, the attending, to say, give me an hour, give me 2 hours. At this point, we're waiting for the intensive care unit to, the critical care unit to admit her to get a room for the spinal tap. And so I would like to work on her energetically. I do not need to touch her or anything, but I need this opportunity to work on her. So I told them that if they can just leave the room, if they don't agree, just leave the room and just leave me alone and let me do my prayer and meditation for her and all that. So I did the Nest scan and looked for all her energy blockage. And I thought about Joe and Harry Massey and thought about how I can manifest them to be with me, to give me the courage and the healing power to help heal my wife. So I worked for the next 2 hours working on clearing on her energetic blockage with just the My Health, the information system. And we started, she came in at 10. By about 1 o'clock, I started working on her. By about 3:30, 4 o'clock, I saw her toe started to move. And that gave me hope. And so I was encouraged, and I started working on her more, clearing the energetic blockage along her spine, each of her acupuncture points. And then her fingers started to move. And then she just sat up at 5 o'clock. And I pulled out her Foley catheter. I pulled out her IV. And she said, I just need to go pee right now.
Wow.
So I helped her, got out of the gurney, went into the restroom, and the nurse came in and didn't see her on the bed and like, where is your wife? I'm like, she just got up and started pulling her stuff out and said that she needed to go pee. So at this point in time, right after I said that, the toilet flush, and then she walked out, and the nurse is like, what the hell happened? So she ran out and called the attending. The attending ran in and said, we would like to go home. She looks fine right now, so we're gonna go home and heal, because I worked in the emergency room for 4 years when I was in pharmacy school. I understood how they work and everything, and I didn't want her to get admitted and then get sick from the hospital or anything like that. So we signed a non-consent form and walked out of the hospital at that point in time. And that was really why I thought about, if this could truly happen to us within a few hours, we got from a situation where possibly she was paralyzed to her walking out through energetic meditations, intentions, energy medicine, whatever you call it, miracle, whatever you want to call it, that happened. How do I use this to help people who are in pain? And so I became best friend with Harry, and we worked on different things. And then we collaborated on how to use his technology and all this good stuff on delivering it into the cream to help people who are in pain. So through the work of Gabor Mates and Candace Perkin about emotions and traumas, and John Sarno's work on pain and all that stuff, I started thinking about pain what is pain? So what it came to realize is that pain is not just the physical component, but there's the psycho-emotional component. And then there's the spiritual component. So how do we mesh all of that into something that can help people heal from their pain? So that's the long background of it.
TK, I like blood. No words. Okay. No words. I mean, prior to recording, we had a quick chat and I said, I'm sure we have a lot of stories to share about manifestation. And I am reminded by something that a mentor said to my husband once, which was, I asked for a grain of sand and he gave me the whole blank beach.
Yes.
Like, thank you for sharing such an intimate and I'm incredibly real story. And I am sure there was a lot of journeying between a school pharmacist managing 37 or so locations to give me a minute. I'm going to pray and throw some light on my wife and see if I can get her to stand up and walk. And please know this is not TV. This is real. Everybody has this capacity. When I was exposed to Dr. Joe's work, I remember reading it going, took him 12 weeks. Good for him. Took me 20 years. But either way, I mean, it took me 20 years to understand it to that level, that he did it. And yet when I had a spontaneous healing, I just didn't know it to that level from pain, from a car accident, blah, blah, blah. And did some emotional release with who's the guy that's now my husband, Ian. No joke, his name's Ian. Thank you. And when I asked him how he did it, he said energy, which is even funnier because his name's Ian. And I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. How'd you do that? And he couldn't explain it. And it was many, many years later, I started to understand quantum physics and the science behind it all, right? And we live in the most amazing, magical times of bringing our ancient wisdom and our incredible intellect together and understanding how to really wield this amazing energy. And when TK was talking, I hope you all felt it. I felt it in my heart. I felt it, the amount of possibilities that exist out there.
Yes.
I was able to meet Harry Massey the same weekend that I re-engaged in October. I had met him and I know about the Nest system and we're going to have him on the podcast so people can understand it, but it's quantum physics, light energy, energetic biofeedback technology. Amazing. I had no idea. One of my big questions was, how do you get the magic in here? What did you do? How'd you do it? And not surprised, the answer is Harry Massey. Yes. One of the most eclectic, brilliant people I've ever met and totally love him. This is there's so much truth out there and so many people have the truth. There are so many ways to get to it, to utilize it. And bravo to you, TK, and bravo to your family for having what an incredible outcome that is, obviously. And for you having the trust in the process.
Yes, I really did ask for them energetically to come and stand by me and really help me in this tough time. So,
and I'm sure they were, it worked out.
Yes.
So then you're brilliant. I'm sure your wife was like, was she into understanding that world at that point prior? Because she was going to Target to work every day at the pharmacy still. So I'm curious.
At that point, I was already deep into functional medicine, and that was just something that she started to listen to. But energy medicine, manifestation and intention, and the whole placebo effect, she did not. She was thinking I'm like going crazy, going woo-woo, and that was what really hit her and said, there's something here. There's something here. Something happened. And so that was like our Energetic Energy Journey Part 1.
And, this is a science. I want to reiterate that, this is now becoming a very documented science. Thank God, because of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I do not have any affiliation with him as of yet. But if you would like to donate to help in this research, please go directly to his website. Actually, we'll put a link. I can't remember the name of it, International Research Fund or something. They just started recently with this fund, and their goal is to help raise $10 million this year to prove coherent healings for cancer patients. And they want to start with children. And he released a paper. We're trying to find it. Dr. Patel, the head of his research team, and Dr. Joe released a paper 2 Fridays ago. I was at his week-long retreat in Marco Island when he had a live stream. Do you know about this?
No. I was at his event 2 years ago, and I heard them talking about it.
So I wanted to share this with the community. I haven't had a chance to write a video on it. So here we go. So what they proved was they've done metrics readings. So there's like 7 or 8 people, I forget now, on the scientific team, everywhere from Dr. Patel, who is a medical doctor and taught at the University of Southern California in San Diego on anesthesiology, not a dumb guy, all the way to the functional medicine doctor from Europe and everybody in the middle. They were just literally the bookends of the science team. That's why I'm using that. And then there's a bunch of other deep, microbiologists and I don't remember honestly all the different and incredible certifications and education they all have. Point being, though, they released that whether you are a beginning meditator or an experienced meditator, they had found through research, the data says this, that it absolutely proves that there's a protein that's created called serine A5 when you're a meditator, and this protein does not allow for the enzyme to cut the spike off of a spike protein to allow it to enter the cell and become infectious in a body. You know any spike proteins that have been a problem lately? And so maybe 1 or 2.
Yes.
So what they're proving is that if you meditate, coronavirus does not become a disease. It becomes just a virus that upgrades your DNA, gives you that, additional new antibody and allows you to have lifelong immunity, because where lifelong immunity and creating antibodies went in the last 2 years, I'm not quite sure. I'm certainly no virologist or epidemiologist, but I learned a little bit along the way about the immune system, and I don't know where that has gone in the last 2 years. I'm sure you felt the same way. But now they're going to prove, and what they've started to prove through these research scientists and watching metrics, is coherent healings, both in person and long distance, to nothing but cancer cells and incubators. And they're showing 25% a decrease in the activity of those cells, meaning a 25% reduction of a cancerous state of these cells in incubators, both that were 10 feet away from me, and these 5 women that were doing the coherent healings that are part of Dr. Dispenza's group, as well as the ones that were states away in an incubator.
Yes.
To prove exactly what you did with your wife. And it is the amazing part of being alive, the amazing part of being who we are.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Now
the awakening.
The awakening. And what's funny about your cream, the timing. So I'd wanted to go to one of his events for many years. I finally got to go a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And I was waitlisted. I got on in anyway.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah. This though was my lifesaver. And because all those years ago, my husband said, go in the other room and be, even though my was pain-free, when I sat still in meditation, all my pain came back, and he was trying to explain to me that my healing had not really started yet. I had not had any shoulder or neck pain in 10 years or more, working through in long meditations, and then enter week-long Dr. Joe Dispenza's retreat. My left shoulder, I was like every day, pump, 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 all over. And it really, by the end of the week, I went from 100% constant, sharp agony pain to about 10%. And I knew it was emotional. I knew it was in the psycho-emotional, and that's why I used this versus anything else. I knew this was not an internal problem. I knew this was 100% a spiritual psycho-emotional problem. So why, TK? Tell us how, what'd you do? What is this?
Okay, so through homeopathic principle, we looked at how information is transferred. But homeopathic principle sometimes is just weak subtle energy. So we looked at how do we amplify this information. So using Teslas and protons, Rife technology, we can amplify these information. So if we can put these information into a base such as mineral water or a bioenergetic base cream that can carry information like a computer or hard drive that can carry gigabytes of information. And then all I need is just a computer chip to be able to interpret that information. So our body is the computer. Our heart, our brain is the computer chip that can interpret this information. So for people who meditate, people who are energy sensitive, or people who want to believe with intention and manifestation, they'll be able to set their body up in a way where they receive this information and understand it and get reprogrammed in their body from a state of fight and flight, a state of anxiety, insecurity, and stress, where they're in pain. That's what we call incoherent information. But if we can give them that coherent information, let them vibrate back into their correct field of body's energy. Sometimes we see it as chakras or auras or electromagnetic field of the body. We can help them correct their state, going from a state of fear and insecurity and pain to a state of peace, love, and joy and safety. And then their conscious mind will interpret the pain differently. But the other thing is, a lot of time when we go through emotional shock, trauma, physical trauma, car accident, childhood abuse, generational abuse, they become information. The shock of what happened becomes information, get embedded into our cells, our muscles or bones, or our field of the body, or the myofascial layers. It depends on what the accident is and where that information of that trauma can be restored. And a lot of that gets stored in there because we didn't expect it. It came as a shock. We were not prepared for it. And the other thing is, we did not have a solution for it. So it became this pocket of energy. And when that pocket of energy get released and goes up into a conscious mind, the conscious mind interprets it and create pain. And that pain is just a way of distraction for us to go back into our primal self, into our fight and flight and survive. So that way we don't hurt ourselves. It's a mechanism that sometimes is good and sometimes is bad. So if we can figure out how to help people release or let go of that trauma, help them find security, help them find love and joy, then we can help their body balance out, go back to homeostasis instead of fight and flight. And then their conscious mind reinterpret the pain differently because they're in a different state. So that was kind of how we look at putting the heart into that state of coherence and let it talk to the mind and let that pain go. So
that's a lot. That was beautiful explanation. And I want to try to package that if I can, just so we have clarity. So you have a carrying agent, be it the lotion or
yes,
or saline for that matter, but in this case,
Yes.
lotion is your carrying agent. You've infused in it with certain frequency generating technologies, such as the Rife machine. You mentioned something else, maybe Ness.
Yes, Ness technology using Rife and photons, using red lights, protons.
And we can see all the lights behind you if we're watching all the, I have my crystal towers in front of me from Rasmus. Okay, and then you take that, which amplifies essentially the homeopathic information, because the carrying agent makes that information that's often a subtle body energy, because homeopathics are just information. So the carrying agent is taking this information infused by these frequency
Yes.
generators, held into the cream
Yes.
molecularly
Yes.
in the atoms and the ions.
Yes.
And and this creates a coherence of energy, correct?
Correct.
Which is applied, like in my case, to my shoulder.
Yes.
And then when that was applied, my body went, hey, here's this signal to go up to the brain to let you know what it is that you're releasing. And allowing that
Yes.
coherence to set the template for remembering what perfection was before that shock, that trauma that I was not prepared for, set into the cellular structure. And so this penetrates into the cellular structure, releasing the old traumas, the old patterns, the asymmetrical cellular structures, and replaces, if you will, with coherent, beautiful, structured, sacred geometry cells.
Yes, yes, in many ways, because this is like a product that is in hypothetical theories that is based off of actual science. It's the idea of how we want this to work, and because this is an actual product that I own as a company, I cannot like make claims of like structures and function and stuff like this, but that's basically the whole idea of the theory of how we approach relieving pain for people and stuff like that.
And what I would say as a scientist is the way to really understand something and what science really is questioning, being skeptical, trying things out, and find out for yourself. That's what I would say. Yes. Proof is in the experience, right? And science is about experimenting to have experiences, looking at the outcomes, and then making, oh, wow, every time we do that, this happens. Every time we do that, this happens. And if it's duplicatable, then it becomes more than a theory, and it becomes an understood, known thing now that's been proven, right? Just like yes. Dr. Joe did. So that's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a bit more complicated.
I'm sure, but that's amazing. I mean, I want you to speak about stories and how long have you had the product, and where is the most use of the product? Where do people, not most like on the body, but like in what realm do you find this? Like, how is it mostly used?
A lot of time, there's when we talked about pain, there's that physical, that psycho-emotional pain, and then that spiritual pain. So each of those realm is a matrix that can changes how our body view pain and interpret pains. And so when we look at the physical part, where people get opiates or NSAIDs for inflammations or Tylenols for fevers and stuff like that, those are the physical pain. But what we found is that when we ground the cream with Schumann's resonance, which is the earth resonance, people actually get the physical effect from the grounding. So that is one of the process, how we can help people with the pain physically. But we also put 1.5% menthol in the cream. and essential oils and herbal extracts, and that give a small percent advantage to the physical part of the pain. And then I talked about the psycho-emotional part, is how do we get the heart and the brain to talk to each other and let go of all that insecurity, that stress, that anxiety, and find that state of unconditional love, peace, and joy. So we have information and frequency that matches up to those states, and we infuse that into the cream. And then the spiritual part is helping people find that meditation, find that belief, find that higher self that they can go to, find that higher spiritual self that they can believe in and have a foundation for them. So what we did with the cream, we went through and kind of like learned how these things do, like, let's say, for example, heart math. They did a lot of heart research, shows that the heart is not only a pump organ, but if you look at it, it's an acoustic organ, also an electromagnetic organ, but also it creates waves and sounds and electromagnetic fields that when it's pumping information through, the heart sends out electromagnetic field information that heart math can detect. But what's amazing is that it's also receiving information. The information in the environment, if there's danger, sometimes we get that gut feeling. That's really our heart talking to our gut and our brain. Are we intuitive enough to understand what is going on in our environment to find that state of safety or love or joy for our body? So what we did is we have people put in the intention. When they take the cream, they just take about a pump of it. They put in that intention of where they are in terms of stress, anxiety, what do they need to let go? And they speak that intention into the cream. And then they rub it over their heart and the back of the neck with that intention of letting go and finding that state of love and peace and joy. And almost instantaneously, their heart will understand that information. Their mind understands that information. And then we have them rub the cream and really change their neurosensory, the stress that's going on in their head. So we have them exhale and inhale. Almost instantaneously, you feel that stress just drop. And just taking that moment and let go of what is going on in our head, our body. Do that a couple of times. And almost instantaneously, you feel that state of peace and love. And then, so that's the first part of how do we use the cream. The second part is then you just take the cream, and let's say if you have pain on your knee or your legs or your shoulder, then you apply the cream on that area. What we find a lot of time is, because this is bioenergetic vibration, people should test this out on their own, and so that way they can see it. A lot of time, let's say if you have pain on your foot or your knee or your shoulder, just take some cream and rub it over your clothes or over your shoes. Because we're talking about energy and vibration. It transcends physical barrier, just like your cell phones.
Right.
You get information, video out of YouTubes and TikToks or Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
It's just in the air. It just needs that computer chip to interpret that information in the right frequency. So our body, our heart, and our mind has that capability. We have these electromagnetic field that can pick up information and interpret it. So We just need to get our body into that state. So
can you explain in your verbiage coherence and incoherence at a level from body?
yes. So let's say my right knee, it's hurting. A lot of time it could be food. I have a bad diet, or I'm eating the wrong food. Let's say nightshade. Nightshade can cause people knee pain, joint pain, and stuff like that if they don't have the enzyme to process it. But energetically and psycho-emotionally, knee pain has to do with situation where we're inflexible about things that we can't bypass and we're rigid about it. Or let's say back pain has to do with anger or support issue. For example, I have financial issue at home or at work, but I didn't have a physical injury, but why do I have chronic back pain? It's the psycho-emotional component of I'm not getting enough support financially, or I'm not getting enough support from my spouse, or I'm just angry at something. And that can manifest as pain. Or let's say shoulder pain. Sometimes it could be about how much weight we're carrying on our shoulder. And that can be the psychological reason for our body to say, hey, you're carrying too much weight, you just need to let it go. And it creates the pain so that way we don't hurt ourselves further. But let's say those are physical structure. For people who have kidney issue or kidney pain, that can be because they're in fear of something, they're scared. Or someone who has liver issue because they're just angry, they're upset at something, and their liver can't process it. So it creates pain in that area or dysfunction. So these dysfunction or inflammation that we call incoherent inflammation is not the blueprint that we're made of to be. So the distortion of this inflammation can be detected in these pain or vice versa. So the coherent inflammation is our body blueprint, or what we call the body field inflammation. So we can use that coherent inflammation to correct the incoherent inflammation, the broken inflammation or the broken vibration, the broken frequency. So we just replace them. When we think about it, just kind of like salamanders or frogs or worms. If they lose a limb, they can regrow a new one because of the body field inflammation that they had of that lost limb. And that inflammation, through Killian photographies and stuff, they can take pictures and see that there's that aura around that field inflammation. And that inflammation is what trigger their gene to regrow new limbs, because they have that blueprint there. So that's kind of a different way of looking at the science of inflammation. And so just like disease states and pain, we can look at it from a state of balance of incoherent inflammation versus coherent inflammation.
You know, pain affected me greatly. My father had chronic illness, and then I, for 3 years, dealt with chronic pain after a car accident. And I knew there had to be another way than painkillers and muscle relaxers, which is what I know so many people either know people that are dealing with that. And the opiate addiction is so real. I have so many friends that have dealt with that. They start, and family members that start with, it was a legitimate prescription for a legitimate issue. And then
Yes.
they were addicted to it for 5, 10, 20 years. And it got escalated into other things. And again, bravo for keeping your eyes open and seeing and creating such an amazing robust product that's dealing not just at one level, but as we say at the True Wellness Center, it's the physical, emotional, and vibrational levels that we help you optimize to get a better vision of yourself. And what I think Ian helped me understand throughout the years was that while he made some kind of shift in my biofield that day, the real inside work hadn't been done, because as soon as I was quiet, all the pain came back. And I was on a journey for a reason, showed up at the Joe Dispenza event, hadn't felt that pain in years. And when it came back to my shoulder, I started to laugh, even though I was in serious pain. I was laughing because I absolutely knew that it was just another layer and I needed some.
Yes.
I've also made an agreement that I no longer need to learn through physical pain, that I am happy to learn through joy and experience and love and laughter. I'm really open for that now. No longer. And, you know, and that's exactly what Dr. Schaffner said to me was, what are you carrying? You're carrying too much on your shoulders. What are you carrying so much on your shoulders? And I want to change the world. And maybe that's just too big of a goal for one person. I can't do it alone. I know that. And it's great, amazing colleagues like you. And I think, you know, my coaching group today, we talked a lot about our goals for this year. And I'm very present to the fact that I'm changing my goal, that with myself and my colleagues, arm in arm, we go and change the 23 billion people that need to be changed for the next 3 generations. So we know that once and for all, it has been changed. The tipping point has occurred. And it feels so much more manageable to do it with others than just myself, and to share that shouldering, which is nothing more than education, right? And collaborations and experiences and information, which is what it's all about. Vibrations. TK, and if you've not experienced his cream, the spearmint in it, or I think it's spearmint anyway. Oh, it's so lovely and it's so clean. I'm not a mint person really, but I love that spearminty and I don't know how to say it's clean, but it smells very clean. I know there are some people, because you have tapioca, just in full disclosure, there's tapioca in here. A lot of people have issues with tapioca, blah, blah, blah. But from what I'm thinking, you don't have to put it on your body. You could like wear a glove, rub it on the glove, rub it on your shoulder. Now you're not exposed to the tapioca physically.
Yes.
Wow.
All they have to do, they could just don't have to put directly onto their skin, just rub it over their shirt where their heart is, with that intention of letting go and finding that state of peace, that their body is safe. It's okay for them to move forward. And then they will feel it within 60 seconds. They will feel that state of peace. And then the next part is rub it over their clothes and it washes off, because it's just aloe vera really is the base. So one last question, is there anything else you want to share with the community? First of all, let's tell them how you can find it. And the name of this special cream is MindBody Matrix Pain Relief Cream, fast acting, fast relief, botanical blend of herbs and essential oils, liberate, rejuvenate, and align. It's beautiful, beautiful. And he's got the life symbol on it. It's beautiful packaging as well. And I'm glad it's a bigger tube than last time. What's the price point? Give us an idea. I don't honestly. It's $59 for the 4 ounce. And then the travel one, the 1 ounce, that's easy for like airport, TSA, and purses and stuff like that. Man bags. I have it in my man bags. I have it all the time. And that's $24.99. And then for your viewer, we have a special offer for them for 20% off our retail price. So whenever they go to our website, which is mindbodymatrix.com, they can put in the code, the beats, the THE, and then beats, capital BEATS. They'll get 20% discount off of that. So, which is great. And I do that because I want to show the appreciation of your viewer and you letting me trying to help and educate people.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. That's very helpful. And it's also available. And I'm, if you've watched this podcast and you walk in and go, hey, I want my 20%, happy to do it. If you walk in and do it too, like just really. And I highly recommend, this is the purse size, 4 ounces, but you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
I have the little one, and I just today learned that it was 1 pump.
Yes.
I'm not a 1 pump kind of gal. I'm a 4 pump kind of gal. And I rub it on so many of my clients throughout the days too. Like, this is, if you've been in my office in the last 2 months and you're like, oh, what's that cream? This was the cream. Because, there was other creams that I used to love that were analgesic and amazing, had homeopathics, were very strong, and they were from Europe, and I can't get them anymore. And I did not have a replacement for it until your MindBody Matrix, which I feel has another level to it, at a deeper spiritual, obviously, level that is really infused with such beauty and grace. And I feel your energy and your devotion. I'm sure this is exactly what you thought you were going to be doing when you went to pharmacy school.
Yeah. They did not teach us about nutrition or supplements or functional medicine or regenerative medicine. Just think about energy medicine. But the other thing is, people don't have to have pain to use this.
Yes, good point.
I make it a daily ritual where first thing I wake up is set my intention onto the cream and really start my day by applying it. And then I do the same thing before I go to bed. It's like, what did I go through today that didn't bring me joy or love or peace, that brought me fear or anxiety or stress? I can let go of it. And so I put it on and put it on my heart, put it in the back of my neck. And I feel so peaceful that I get a good night's rest. My stress goes away. I get rejuvenated in the morning, and it really set that cycle for my body to be in balance and to be in that state of homeostasis.
So that's amazing. So if you have one secret and you have an opportunity, everybody has to turn on and listen to TK in the next minute, whatever it is, what is the secret you want to give the world that you've learned? They get nothing else out of life. What do you want them to get?
Unconditional love. When we learn how to love ourselves first, then we're able to love the person next to us. And then they love somebody else, and becomes this ripple effect. And that is really my sole purpose here on this earth, is to create that unconditional love and give it to people by first giving it to myself. So,
well, from my heart to yours, and from my heart, our hearts to everybody else, I felt that love from the moment I met you and I walked up to that table at Dr. Pompa's event.
yes.
I remember that like it was yesterday. It was November of 19. And I just was walking around looking at all the vendors, and I just was like stuck. And I was like, I need to understand you. I need to understand this. And this beautiful woman next to you. Who are you people? Are you fairies that dropped in from the planet happiness? And you just exude unconditional love. And I'm so aware that that only comes because you first love yourself. And why wouldn't you? Because you're a brilliant, amazing, heart-centered, driven, sensitive, incredible being, TK. And I've been blessed to know you from the day I met you. And I'm so excited to align with you at a deeper level now. And I am just so thankful for everybody listening to this podcast and giving it your time and attention, and knowing that the last few months I've talked more about products than I ever have, because what I realize is, just like TK did, we need biohacks sometimes, or we want to optimize and make it easier on ourselves. And there's great ways to do that. We don't have to depend just on breath, and breath is amazing. And it's always with you, and it's free and it always will help and increase your frequency. So you always got that. But there are great other biohacks that we now know through quantum physics, through science, whether it's light, whether it's frequency generated through things like the Rife machine or magnetic resonance or PMF or what nanotechnologies. There's so much out there, and you got this. You got this. And our unconditional love from the Beats And TK,
Yes.
to you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for sharing. And please leave us your comments and your notes. And go to TK's website and get your 20% using the beats. And we'll see y'all soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today to this episode of The Beats. And as your host, Kelly Kennedy, truly from my heart to yours, thank you for your time and your attention today. And if this did resonate with you, please do leave some comments. We would love to hear from you. And if this further you think would resonate with somebody that you know, please do go ahead and share that and hit that notification button so you know when The Beats is available to you. We do some live things every once in a while. And watch out for some of our upcoming events. We have a node release class coming up in the local area here in Pennsylvania. Ian has a walk coming up, so you can check out some information on our website, the True Wellness Center, about all the details about those upcoming events. And as always, we pray that this information today was not only foundational, but raised some questions for you and helped you be empowered to take actionable, profound steps toward regeneration, because your body is the only thing that heals. And that is our message here on The Beats. Thanks again for listening and for sharing. Have a great day.